Welcome back to another episode of Bleav in Iowa. I'm Brady Beedon. He's Logan Blackman. We're going to go around the Big Ten, sprinkle in a little bit of last week and this upcoming week. There's really only 5 non-Iowa games this week, but there's 5 interesting ones. We will start with last week and a few of the highlights. Well, do you want to hold off on Indiana, Illinois? Because we'll talk about that in the Indiana preview because, oh my God, that was a slaughter. But I think we'll get more in depth with that on the next show. Michigan beats Nebraska 30-27. Michigan in the second half was never really in danger of losing this game, but Nebraska can't win a big game if their life depends on it. What is that, 26 straight games against ranked opponents that they've lost? I know Iowa's lost like their last 11, and it's not great. Logan, it feels like it's been since Bo Pelini that they've won a big game.
Yeah, and the difference between Iowa and Nebraska in regards to those types of games is that Iowa doesn't pretend to be this national powerhouse like Nebraska is. They have a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. Oh my God, their backup quarterback has more passing yards than Mark Gronowski. Oh my God, this is the Nebraska's back. And they go play Michigan, and Michigan goes into their house, or like Kirk Cousins says, walked in their trap, took over their trap. And Bryce Underwood, he's looking more comfortable. I'm not going to sit here and go like he's playing lights out or anything. The passing game is still not 100% there yet, but he's looking more and more confident in his abilities as a quarterback, most solidly as a runner. He's running really effectively so far the past 2 games, which is something that he didn't really do a whole lot of the first 2 games of the season for Michigan. And what's also funny as well is I can't remember what the head coach's name or the interim head coach's name.
The old Charlotte coach, who, by
he's
the way, was a hedge fund manager. I think he was born into wealth, was a hedge fund manager, does not need to coach football, and just does it for the fun of it. And yeah, I feel like 2 games is just enough Biff Poggi for the season for everyone.
It's still funny though to hear like I'm gonna eat some Ben and Jerry's ice cream and smoke a cigar and probably take a trip to the hospital. Some Haagen-Dazs, not Ben and Jerry's. Take some Haagen-Dazs and go to the hospital afterwards. It's just it's I don't know. It's a game for Michigan to where you gain confidence because regardless of how good or bad Nebraska is, Memorial Stadium's always a tough place to go in and play, especially go in there and win. And he's playing better. And that we said that early on in the season where there's like going to be some growing pains. We talked about that against Oklahoma, where it's like there's going to be some growing pains. Just learn with him, be patient with him. We don't need this instant gratification thing. Not every freshman comes in like Jameis Winston and goes insane first game of the year, and then the rest of it goes on to win a Heisman. That's not normal. So we don't need to go out there and expect the world from Bryce Underwood, but it's nice to see the steps that he's taking, and it was a good win. It was a good win for Michigan.
Which, by the way, before we go on, real quick, Logan, just Google on your phone Biff Poggi at Charlotte. Have you ever seen his coaching get up there?
I have not.
It is interesting. He did not do well. Yeah. Full cutoff, looking like me when I wake up on a Sunday morning after a long Saturday night. And listen, it's interesting. It's something you can get away with if you're winning. So you know what? He won his 2 games as interim at Michigan, so we can have the ha-has about it. We'll just mention this real quick. Oregon rolls Oregon State. Oregon State's bad. Oregon really good. Not much to say. We'll talk about it more when we talk about this week when Oregon's playing Penn State. Notre Dame, they gave up 30 to Purdue. Purdue ran a cool trick play with the read option throwback. That was about it. But I guess Purdue didn't get completely embarrassed. Points.
Yeah. Yeah, they made it a game for a little bit, and then they had that sick trick play in there. It's just, you love to see that little stuff in there like that. And CJ Carr didn't really need to do a whole lot for Notre Dame throwing the ball. Jeremiah Love was typical Jeremiah Love stuff, but it's just a typical like Notre Dame's just better. And it ultimately it came down to that at the end of the game where they just started pulling away. It was close for a little bit. It was like, ooh, this is a little bit not like insanely close for Notre Dame, but we're sitting there going like, oh, this could be a little bit interesting. This is not as bad of a game as I thought it was. Like we saw Riley Leonard absolutely run rampage on Purdue last year in West Lafayette. So yeah, Notre Dame comes away with the win. Nitro Tuggle, good game for him. Sick name, good game for him. But yeah, Notre Dame was just But it's nice to see them finally get a win, though. I mean, we've seen them in the top 25 all season, haven't had a single win yet. So it's nice to see them get one win on the board. So now they can really justify keeping them keeping them in the top 25.
There you go. Bounce around a little bit. When's Luke Fickell getting let go? That just feels like, they lose 27-10 to Maryland. Maryland is 4-0. But Luke Fickell struggling. And then I wanted to ask you, Barry Alvarez had some comments, I think, on Monday or Tuesday about how the Wisconsin fan base is spoiled. Now, I know they're a rival, and I know that there's not a lot of love lost. Logan, they haven't been good for like half a decade. I think it's okay to say, no, we're pissed off, we're booing. Like, there are kids that have gone through that entire school and have not seen a good football team. Like, it's not that Wisconsin is just going 8-4, 9-3, Bo Pelini style. I can't believe I had 2 Bo Pelini mentions in this show, but they're bad. Like, to lose by 3 scores at home to Maryland, yeah, you got the right to get booed. I'm sorry, Barry. If you want to be a big-time player, if you want to be talked about as a great program, expectations come with that. You don't get to be Mr. Big Shot and say we're a big-time program, but then when you struggle, ask the fans to be all happy about it and say, oh, well, we gave it the old college try for 5 years.
Yeah, and it's just like you said, they're just not even close to being a good football team right now. They're just it's rough. And I don't know what's really holding Luke Fickell in this job right now, because that was like, out of all the things I was expecting to see on Saturday, I wasn't really expecting to see the crowd stuff, but I'm not surprised. I can't sit here and go like, oh, this is a massive surprise here. Like, Wisconsin's known for running the ball, being a clock dominant team, a team that's very physical at the line of scrimmage, a team that's not afraid to get down and dirty with you, take it to the mud if they need to. And this Wisconsin team just doesn't do that. It's just a complete antithesis to everything Wisconsin was for however many years now, where they're just not physical. They're not tough. They're not scary. And Luke Fickell trying to force this air raid style of offense on them, it's just not in their DNA. Like, you can't go to Navy and say, hey, we're going to start running spread now. No, you run triple option at Navy. That's just what you do. You pound the rock at Wisconsin. You win or go to Big Ten championship game. You make games competitive. And this team they just don't do that. And it's so, like you talked about, like, taking away from a rival's perspective. Like, I want Iowa's rivals to be good enough so when Iowa beats them, that makes their season that much worse. Like, you lost to Iowa, like, your season's ruined because you lost. Like, when Minnesota was undefeated a few years ago and they came into Kinnick and Iowa beat them, that was one of the best feelings ever. Better than when they would beat the crap out of Minnesota by 50 every single year when they go up to the Metrodome. Like, it was so much more fun to have that game. So I want to see Wisconsin do good for that aspect, but it doesn't pain me over, like, if I'm looking at it from a
right. Again, you're not losing any sleep over it. But let me ask you this. Is it more so that they tried to switch up the style and throw it around a bit? Or is it just that Wisconsin's leadership has not been strong enough to guide them into this new era? Let's take what I think is a pretty equivalent program to Wisconsin that just axed their head coach in Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy. Now, it wasn't as long of a fall off, but it was a harder fall off for Oklahoma State. It just feels like Wisconsin has not been a big player in this transfer portal era. And, like, Iowa really hasn't either, but they found a way they still play the game. Like, they got Mark Gronowski, who, while he wasn't the number 1 quarterback in the portal, he was still a name I'm sure a lot of teams would have liked. Wisconsin just doesn't have the dudes anymore. Like, who's the last guy you feared from Wisconsin? It's been a while.
Yeah,
Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah. And that was all the way back in 2020. Like, it's been a long time since Wisconsin's had that, like, figure that you could point to, because that was always the thing. You could always point to their running back. You could point to somebody, whether it's Taylor, Melvin Gordon. You can go all the way back to PJ Hill, like Corey Clement. You have so many different running backs throughout that university, and right now they just aren't. There's not players, like you said, and I don't know if it's Luke Fickell's just not, like, putting in the right stuff, or he's not saying the right things to make it hard for him to follow him or something. I don't know, because it's everything about Wisconsin right now is just it's kind of sad. And you look at it from, like, a rival's perspective, a neutral's perspective, fan perspective, it's like, man, I remember when you guys were actually, like, tough and had dogs on your team, and there's just not that. And, like, they're on their they played 4 quarterbacks on Saturday, or 3 quarterbacks on Saturday, and they are on their 3rd transfer quarterback in the past 3 years. Like, they just can't get anybody to hold down the fort there, and it's just, I don't know. It's sad, and I don't know what's really, like you said earlier, I don't know what's really keeping Luke Fickell in the job at this point.
The buyout, it's like $25 million.
That'd be it.
Yeah,
that would be it.
Wisconsin doesn't necessarily have that oil money, but it's, hey, in this era, you're either a have or a have not, and Wisconsin's starting to become a have not. Washington is a have not, and Washington's a have, 59-24. Yeah, I mean, it was close for a while. It was, what was it, 31-24 going into the 4th quarter. Then Washington put the hammer down. Again, not a lot to say. We'll talk about Washington more with the Ohio State game coming up. The game that finished basically as the sun was rising in the East, USC beats Michigan State 45-31. Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on this one? I mean, Michigan State, they had an effort in the second half, but did you ever really think Michigan State was going to win this game?
No, I didn't. It just, USC is just they're playing really, really well right now. Jane Maeva is playing fantastic at this point at the start of the season. It's just USC was just too good. And again, we always talk about like traveling out to the West for these Big Ten schools, these Midwest Big Ten schools, where you talk about like the game for Michigan State fans was kicking off at what, midnight?
11 p.m.
Yeah, like it's like the travel from there to over to the West Coast to play USC, who's on a heater right now. And Aiden Childs has been playing well up to this point in the season. I didn't think he played good in this game given the circumstances, but
their defense is just Swiss cheese.
Yeah. USC was just carving through it like a hot knife through butter. Like it was easy. They ran the ball really well. They threw the ball really well. Yeah, USC was just they're just the better team, and they're looking pretty good going as we go deeper into Big Ten play.
All right, let's start going towards this week. Not a ton of action. 5 non-Iowa games to worry about. Let's get the 2 duds out of the way. The ass bowl between UCLA and Northwestern. If a game happens and no one's around to watch it, did it really happen? I mean, UCLA is terrible. Northwestern is terrible adjacent. Northwestern's a 7 touchdown favorite at home. Yay. Like, that's really all I got. Logan, anything else? I mean, they're both bad.
Yeah, they're just 2 really bad teams. There's really nothing more to say about it. I mean, the people that show up to this game for Northwestern, that's probably the same amount of people that would show up to the Rose Bowl if this game was at UCLA. Like, this game's just not. There's going to be tens of people in the stands. There's going to be a couple people watching it on TV. It's just, yeah, I don't know. They tried to throw it in the 2:30 slot. It's just, it's
this
one
is
of the
going to be the one
time
where Big Ten Network is like, all right, who's the students that we're going to have produce this game? We're not going to send our A crew there. The other one that's kind of just a game, Rutgers at Minnesota. I guess Rutgers 3-1, Minnesota 2-1. A little bit of juice there. The winner can try to build off that for the rest of the season, but compared to the other 3 games, it doesn't have a lot of get me up for this one.
Yeah, I mean the boy Ethan Kaliakmanis I thought he played all right against Iowa this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see how he carries on that thing, because Rutgers is throwing the ball a little bit more than what we're used to seeing from them, because they're a team that we've talked about where usually want to run the ball, because Ethan Kaliakmanis is not usually the most accurate quarterback or the most consistent quarterback out there, but it's a nice little revenge game for him. They shipped him out of Minnesota. They sent him over to Rutgers, so I'm expecting him to go back to his old stomping grounds, and I'm hoping that he comes away with a nice little win, because Minnesota coming off a loss, coming off a bye as well. So, yeah, go in there, beat the crap out of PJ Fleck, go back to Piscataway, and continue on the rest of the way.
All right, Fox Big Noon, and I think Fox executives were having an aneurysm as the Illinois game was going on, but they host USC in Champaign. USC, a touchdown favorite, having to come all the way to Illinois. Now, listen, I know Illinois got just clobbered. However, Kirk Cignetti never takes his foot off the gas. Would it be a 7-point game if Indiana won 38-10 instead of 63-10? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be out on Illinois. That might be one of my favorite plays of this weekend is Illinois. They're at home. They play a style of ball where they're not supposed to get blown out. And USC, they're good, but if they were USC, would they be getting the benefit of the doubt? If they were Minnesota, would they be getting the love that USC is getting that number next to their name?
And it's kind of crazy looking at it. I've got the open line. The line opened at 1.5. And then after the game happened against Indiana, now we're sitting at, like you said, 6.5. Like, it's just the amount of flip that happened after Illinois. Like, USC was still the favorite, I guess. But
so that tells me Vegas said it's going to be a close game, and everyone went, "Oh, yeah. Illinois sucks now." Yeah. USC. So I'd be careful with that one, because when the money moves the line, that's telling you that, especially 5 points, that is a gargantuan move. That tells me a lot of money came in on USC. And anytime you cross 2 time zones, it's going to be tough. Again, it's the reverse for USC. Last week, they had an Eastern time zone team kicking off at 11:30 local time. Now they're kicking off at 10 a.m. local time. Mm-hmm. Big difference.
It's massive difference there. And the thing with USC that's going to be interesting to follow is just how good their defense is, because that's always going to be the big question around Lincoln Riley, because like they gave up a good amount of points to Purdue. I'm not sitting here going like, oh, they gave up 100 points to them, but I mean, it's giving up 17 to Purdue. You gave up 31 to Michigan State last week. Like, Illinois doesn't have, like, they might have gotten whatever you want to say about what happened against Indiana, it happened. And but they've still got good players on that offensive side of the ball. They're not a bunch of scrubs. They're not a team that's looking at like, oh man, this is a really, really bad football team. Just nothing worked out for them. And that's what happens. Like you said, Curt Cignetti does not take the foot off the gas. He's going to do that. If he sees you're wounded, he's not going to go over there and stick out his hand to help you up. He's going to actually spit on you and kick some dirt in your eye while you're on the ground as well. Like against Old Dominion week 1, they ran a flea flicker with 2 minutes to go in the game, and they're winning by 3 scores. Like he does not care, and I love that about Indiana. It's what makes them fun to watch. But Illinois is definitely going to need some bounce. They're going to be a motivated team going to this week, because I'm sure Bert going in there talking about how little people are talking about. I mean, they're already talking about Indiana. Have they ever been tested this year? And they just beat a top 10 team by 53 points. And ESPN's posting articles about, man, I don't know how good Indiana actually is. So there's going to be a lot of people, and I'm sure like Bielema will be going in there saying stuff. Altmaier will be going in saying stuff that you guys got flat out embarrassed against Indiana. How do you respond against USC, who's also got a very good offense, very solid quarterback, experienced head coach, but defense skeptical? So if you're able to go in there and kind of like, because there could be a little bit of USC, it's even like, hey, this team just got blown out. Let's walk in there. Let's just bury them while they're down. So it's just how Illinois responds. I think they can respond, because like you said, I'm not fully out on Illinois yet. It was a bad game, but I'm not fully out on them yet. So we'll see how they respond, and I'm hoping that it makes it a little bit more of a close encounter in this one with USC coming to town, because that time zone difference, that's a big thing.
And Illinois still has all those returners back. They didn't listen, it was one bad game. I'm going to actually give them the benefit of the doubt there. Ohio State travels out to Washington, a 2:30 kickoff. Ohio State favored by 8.5. This has been a trendy upset pick. Logan, what's going to happen out in Seattle?
You know what? I'm not that far out on that, because Demond Williams for Washington is a scary dude at quarterback. We saw him a little bit in the game against Iowa when Will Rogers and his lucky tights ended up getting benched in that game. We saw Demond Williams come in, and he made some plays against Iowa. And you could look at that and go like, well, it was garbage time and stuff like that. But he still looked good. You got Jonah Coleman at running back. You got Denzel Boston, who's one of the best wide receivers in college. Well, like Washington might not have the same hype that we saw in previous years, like Penix, and when like you had Roma Dunze and Jalen Polk and all those guys in there. But this has still got a team with some very good football players. And Ohio State is Ohio State. But we talk about going out west. In Washington, going out to Seattle, that's one of the harder places to play. One of the more like underrated hard places to play in college football. And Ohio State, again, they've got good players. Julian Saint's playing really good right now. He has a couple picks in there this year, but I think overall he's been playing good. Still got Jeremiah Smith in there. But it's, you know what, it wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't be shocked if it became an upset. I don't know if I'm going to fully go that direction yet, but it wouldn't shock me given the time zone difference and the fact that Washington, though again, not super hyped, does have good players in this team, does have a tough home field. This will be a fun one. I'm actually really excited to see this one, even though it's number 1 versus unranked. I'm really excited to watch this one.
Can I just give a very simple response that Washington's nice? Ohio State just has way too many dudes. Like and I think 8.5 is a good number. I don't think Ohio State's going to go over and roll them 34-10. I could see them being up 24-20 late, and then boom, someone hits a big run, or they hit Jeremiah Smith for a touchdown, and they win 31-20, and they take care of business. But it was not easy. Ohio State just has so much talent.
Yeah.
And you know what? As much as people give Ryan Day crap, which he's a national champion coach now, like he is a pretty darn good coach. He can't beat Michigan. He can beat everyone else. He doesn't lose this game. This is, you know who loses this game? Urban Meyer. This is the classic Urban Meyer, the one road game that makes no sense, going to Purdue, going to Iowa, and just getting his teeth kicked in 48-24. Ryan Day does not lose these games. As much crap as everyone gives Ryan Day and his jet black beard, he does not lose games like this. He usually takes care of business. So I'm going to give him a little credit, and I'm going to be the Abe Lincoln meme standing up and saying, you know what? Ryan Day is too good of a coach to lose this game.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I'm fully going in on like Washington winning this game, but I think I'm with you where it's like, it'll be close for a little bit, and then the dudes just come out. Like when you got dudes, you've got dudes. And as good as some of the Washington dudes are, Ohio State's got dudes. So I think I'm still gonna go Ohio State, but I think my guess would probably be like, I feel like a nice 30-20 game feels right in my stomach for this one. It's gonna be I am still excited for this one.
All right, main event. Thank God they figured out to not mess up the whiteout and put it at night. Oregon comes to town. The pride of Detroit Martin Luther King High School, Dante Moore, leading the Ducks into Happy Valley at night against the whiteout to take on the number 3 ranked Penn State Nittany Lions. This is a game that, I mean, everyone's going to be watching. It's NBC. And you have two guys that conceivably could win the Heisman and Moore and Drew Aller if their seasons continue. You have two teams that have big national title aspirations. What are we going to see in this one?
Well, I think what's kind of funny to talk about is that Dante Moore finally played in the fourth quarter last week, which is something we haven't really. We saw him play one play against Northwestern in the fourth quarter. He threw a pick, but he played 2 or 3 drives in the fourth quarter against Oregon State. So they're gearing him up to actually play a long game. So probably not going to blow out Penn State. I could be wrong. Probably not going to blow up Penn State in this one. But yeah, Penn State's coming off a bye, which I think they kind of needed. And I don't know what Penn State, what's been Penn State's thing this year, because they've won games by convincing scorelines, but they haven't been like that. Oh, we're gonna put the hammer down. Like they're close until they're not close, but they're
like what the FIU game was like 10-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
Like Nevada, like you said, they've won all these games by actually the FIU game was the closest, Nevada at 35, 34 points has been their lowest margin of victory. But I don't care about Nevada, FIU, and Villanova.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is a spot where I think we're kind of in the same boat, and the country's in the same boat. You know Penn State's really good, but you're almost waiting for the other shoe to drop with Penn State and lose the big game. This is a big game, and if James Franklin wants to rectify that image of he can't win the big one, he's going to have a few chances this year, well, about 2. Home to Oregon, at Ohio State. Here's test number 1. And I think I don't care if they win it 3-2. I don't care if they win it 50-49. If they win this game, then you go, okay, that's a big time win for James Franklin.
100%, 100%. And I'm excited to see what version of Drew Aller we get in this game for Penn State, because Drew Aller is a guy that can make the most ridiculous throw on the football field. He had an insane touchdown against Villanova last week, or 2 weeks ago, where he fitted in between 2 or 3 Villanova defenders to hit Trevor Pena in the end zone from 25 yards out. Like, it's just the windows that he's able to hit when everything's lined up. There's not a lot of other quarterbacks in the country that can make. You could look at him and maybe like Fernando Mendoza for like arm strength in that regard. But then there's some plays, like he threw an interception against Villanova where he's trying to hit Katron Allen out of the backfield and just floats it right into the path of a defender. Like there's some plays like, dude, why are you missing the layup stuff? That stuff we talked about with Gronowski before about missing the layups. And Aller's in year 3 as the starter, physically gifted, one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks in all of college football in regards to size, arm strength. He's not like a plus athlete, but he can make plays on the ground when they need to. I just need to see something from him in this game. I thought in the Big Ten championship game, I thought he made some really big time throws in that game, but going across the field from Dante Moore, who's been, like you talked about, one of the best quarterbacks in college football this year, one of the favorite, John Mateer injuring his hand, like Dante Moore might be at this point in time the favorite for the Heisman Trophy, and he's playing at an insane clip at this point in time. And you look at him and like DeCorian Moore on the outside, those two have built up really good chemistry together. And Oregon they're not going to be a team with Dan Lanning as the head coach where they walk in and be fearful of the wideout. And the wideout's a scary thing. It is a scary thing. But it's especially with it being at night and not being at noon, or that, like, it's just so nice.
Hey, Minnesota's coming to town. Noon kickoff. Let's go.
Yeah. We got to pick big noon kickoff because that's the biggest games go at noon. Everybody wants to watch the biggest games at noon. But Oregon's not going to back down from this. And Penn State, I don't know if they were just trying to be ultra vanilla going into this game against Oregon when they saw against the FIUs, Nevadas, and Villanovas of the world, but I need to see something from them in this game. Because I know what Oregon can do. I know what Dan Lanning can do as a head coach. We had some nerves with Dante Moore before the season started, and I know they haven't played like an insane schedule up to this point, but some of the throws Dante Moore has been making this year are just, dude, you got it. You got it. I trust you now.
And here's why I love Dante Moore. He basically out of high school, he took the highest bidder in UCLA. Went out to be with Chip Kelly, and he sucked. He was not ready. He was throwing pick sixes on the reg, and he said, you know what? And it was a very mature move. Now, I'm not saying transferring to Oregon is a tough sell, but he went, okay, I am not ready. I am going to go to Oregon. I am going to sit for a year. I understand I will not play. I am going to be behind Dylan Gabriel, and I'm going to be put in an incubator for a year, and I am going to work out these flaws. I'm going to give myself essentially 16 months to figure everything out, and I'll come out the other side. And I think he's the blueprint minus the sucking at UCLA. Hey, go somewhere you can sit at least a year. And go there and figure things out. And you know what? It feels like it's a rarity now in college football to get a guy that steps into the spot that's ready, that you're not forcing in because you paid him 7 figures or you got him in the portal, and if you don't play him, he'll leave. It was a mature decision by that young man, and now you're seeing the benefits. And I really like Oregon going into Penn State at night. Again, Penn State's a 3.5-point favorite. On average, you give about 3 points for the home team. So essentially, this is a pick'em game on a neutral site. I like Oregon a little more because Dan Lanning and that program just has that killer instinct where they just go in and they just smack people. Now, they're not going to smack Penn State. This is going to be a heavyweight fight that goes 12 rounds. I think Oregon finds a way to get it done close, maybe last-second field goal.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I trust the thing is I just trust Dan Lanning. I trust Dan Lanning more than I trust James Franklin, and we've seen Dan Lanning have these types of wins on the road before. So and Dante Moore, like you said, taking the time to go like, hey, I'm not ready yet. I need to sit behind Dylan Gabriel for a year because at UCLA, he was just firing from the hip. Like he was just firing anything that could move. It wasn't getting completed. If it wasn't getting completed, it was an interception. He had like 11 touchdowns, 9 picks while completing like maybe around 50% of his passes. Like he was just not there. You were like, okay, you're talented, but you're just firing all over the place. And going to Oregon, learning from a guy, like not just going to Oregon to be learning from a guy like Dylan Gabriel, who was at UCF, who was at Oklahoma, who has been around college football forever, who does not make any dumb decisions. Dylan Gabriel was known for not forcing the issue, for not sailing the ball in his receivers. He was a guy that was, though not the biggest guy in the world, was going to step through throws and fire them through tight windows. And learning from a guy like that is just like, hey, you don't need to throw touchdowns every single time. Not every throw needs to be a touchdown. And Dylan Gabriel was that guy to like bring him back down to earth a little bit. And now we're seeing the version of Dante Moore that people saw in high school, where you're like this 5-star recruit, that you're the guy with all this talent in the world. And now you're going to Oregon and you're allowed to showcase that. And against Penn State, like, again, this is their first real test, but I've seen enough from Dante Moore to where, even though it's against Oklahoma State, Montana State, Oregon State, and Northwestern, I trust him. And I think that's a big thing going into a game like this against Penn State, where Aller, I'm kind of like, it's been going like this. Like the first game against the year against Nevada, he looked really good. And then FIU and Villanova, there were some throws that he misses. You're like, dude, I need you to make those throws. You're too damn good to be missing those throws. And that's where I'm kind of like, I trust Lanning. And at this point, I trust Dante Moore. Just something I wouldn't think I would have said going into this game before the year started. But I think I trust Dante more than Drew Aller at this point. So I'm with you. I'm going to take Oregon.
You beat me to the punch. I was going to ask you, one game you got to pick a quarterback, Dante Moore or Drew Aller. And it's nothing against Drew Aller. I just, and maybe it's the Michigan guy in me, because I saw him play in high school. I did a game where he torched my alma mater. I did throw a pick in that game though. But maybe it's the Detroit thing, but I like Dante Moore a lot. So, all right, big week in the Big Ten, big week for Iowa. If they get a win against Indiana, it's going to be a statement game. We'll dive all into that later in the week. Follow us on all the social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, on X/Twitter, on YouTube, at Bleav in Iowa. For Logan Blackman, I'm Brady Beedon. We'll talk to you next time on Bleav in Iowa.